what a fabulous little gift box this one is. It's a box with faceted sides and it does look really, really spectacular. Now if you're someone who likes to make your own handmade truffles or chocolates or give little gifts, this is a perfect box to be able to gift those in. Now I'll show you how you do it. We're going to start off using the Ultimate, and I have my box maker positioned in place already. And we're going to work on the inches side for this one. Now you need to cut yourself a piece of cardstock, and this is cut to 12 3/8 of an inch along here by 8.5 inches this way. So it's 12 3/8 by 8.5. Now we're going to start off by positioning the long edge up against the handle, which is the butting surface here. And these are the measurements I want you to score. You're going to start off at 1/2 inch. We're also going to go at 3 1/4 inches. And then finally at 5 3/4 inches. Okay. Now notice I've only scored part way down here. That's because this is longer than my scoring platform. So now I'm just going to take it up and continue those lines right down to the bottom of my cardstock. Okay. Then we turn it round to the shorter edge, and we're going to start, but we're going to score through this 1/2 inch line and up to the first line here. Okay, so only up to this central point. Do not score in the centre part here. So I want you to score first of all at 1 3/8. So we'll come to 1 and then 1, 2, 3/8 and take it down to that first line. Then we're going to do the same at 4 1/8. So 4 and then 1 little notch along. And then finally 6 7/8. So 1 before the 7. Okay. Then what you're going to do, we need to score in this part here, but we're going to turn this right around 180 degrees. I want you to mark off where 2 3/4 is. So 2 3/4 is here. Take your tool down, butt this up, and then in that same score line, come back up the other way. And if it helps you, just for a point of reference, it's at exactly the 6.5 inches mark on the bottom. Okay. So then we're going to go to the top and do the same again. So we're going to start 1 3/8 and down to the first line. Then we're going to go at 4 1/8. Then we're going to go at 6 7/8. We're going to flip right around, and that 2 3/4, which marries up with our 6.5 here, we're going to come back up to there. Okay. So that is all of the scoring done on here. We still do need to do some scoring, however, and what you'll find is it will be much easier to do this if we actually do it with a ruler. So I've chosen a nice brightly coloured ruler so that you can see it, because what we're going to do is where this line ends here, we're going to join it up to where this line ends here. So if I pop them on, and I'm just going to score down. All right, now it's a little bit harder when you don't have the scoring board underneath. And I'm going to do the same here. We're going to join these up. And we're going to go all the way across, doing a weave, putting in these diagonals. Now these are what form the facets on the side of your gift box. And I'm going to take it right out to the end, and then also put the very, very last one in the end here as well. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, and you can see that these lines go across ways like this. Okay, now we need to cut away some sections, and what we're going to do is we're going to leave, this is our top folding panel here. Okay, so we're going to leave this on, but we're going to take away from here all the way along here. We're going to cut out all of this section, okay, because this is just our flap for closing it off. Then coming down here, we're going to take out this panel here. So we're going to cut this away altogether. And then in this section, we're going to come up here and up this part here and take away all of this section. Okay, so I've just drawn that on so that you can see a little bit easier. Now all the time what I'm doing is I'm cutting up the centre part of my score line, and I find that that gives the most professional finish. And then the same here, right up the centre part of that score line. You might find it easier to use a cutting knife, whatever it is that's going to make your life easier here. Okay. Then on the bottom sections, what we're going to do, we're going to cut straight up the middle of this score line here. Okay, so we've got a full square panel here. And then we're going to just cut some notches here, just very thin slivers. And then on the others, you're going to cut thin slivers to either side of your scoring line. So that it just folds in quite neatly. Okay. Then on the top, we're going to cut all of these in. So this will obviously form our lid. This is going to form one of our fold over sections. So I'm just taking out again a thin sliver here. The same this panel here. And then this one here is going to be our opposite corner folding. So what I'm actually going to do is cut this away all together. And I'll use the knife here just to get it nice and accurate. So this middle one also comes out all together. So you can see these are slightly tapered. And we'll just slightly taper this one as well, so that they fold in that little bit easier. Okay. Now what we're going to need to do is fold and burnish all of our crease lines. So just as we always do, folding over so that the folded side you fold away from yourself. And just run the scoring tool over each one of these. Now in the centre, what you'll find is these are a little bit more difficult to fold and crease because we haven't used the ultimate underneath there to do our scoring line. So I'm just being a little bit more gentle with each one as we fold them. But notice I'm still all folding them the same way. I'm folding them away from where we've done the score line. Now, that last tiny little piece here, it's going to fold over and marry up and form a gluing flap with this panel here. Now, this looks an awful lot more complicated than it really is. We're just going to glue this flap onto the inside here. So we'll pop a little bit of tape on here and fold that over, and just take your time getting those lined up absolutely perfectly. And you can see now how the box is starting to fold into place. So you should have one full square panel, which for me is this one here, and these all fold in and that full square panel comes over and covers the bottom. So just to put a little bit of tape on each of these to help it to stick down. That panel just comes over there and forms a nice square base, and you'll see that will actually give the box some integrity by having that square base. And then the same at the sides, the two sides fold over, and then on the front here we've got the little flap to come inside. You just want to cut tiny little, and when I say tiny, they literally are tiny little snippets off the corners to enable it to fold inside. And the better way is by trial and error. So you can try and pop this in and say, oh, it's still a little bit on the tight side, so we'll cut a tiny little bit more off. And it's just that you want to get this to kind of mirror the angle that you've got on the facets. So you can see now that's nice and tight. And you can see there how that whole little box has come together beautifully. And if I bring back in the finished one, all I did here was I used a card which I'd pre-printed onto. I would recommend quite a nice heavyweight card for this, but you can see what a fabulous little box it is when it's all finished up.